So, hello everyone, welcome to the China Travel Seminar info session. We're here to give you some information about the Spring 2021 info session that's scheduled to go to Shanghai and Nanjing after graduation, so in late May, early June. So today we're just going to go through introductions. I'm going to talk a bit about Spring 2021 and what to expect. Then we'll learn more about the academics on site, what the professor has planned for you, some field trips and things like that. And then I'll go through the cost, financial aid, and application process, and then we'll open up for any questions. Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Xiaoshuo Hou, and I'm a Associate Professor of Sociology and Asian Studies, and I'm also the inaugural Chair Professor in Chinese Studies. And my major area in sociology is economic sociology, development sociology, with a particular focus on Asia and China. So this is a very exciting travel seminar for me to teach.
Great. My name is Emily Gall. I'm a program manager in the Off-Campus Study and Exchanges office. So our office facilitates all of the faculty-led travel seminars, and we work with the faculty as well as our on-site partners to make sure all the logistics are set up. So I'll be working with you on your application. So in terms of Spring 2021, there is a lot of uncertainty with Spring 2021. So our ability to run these travel seminars is going to depend on several factors. One being the Department of State and CDC ratings of countries students are traveling to. Right now, the majority of the world is a 3 or 4, so that anything out of 4, we're not allowed to send students or faculty to. 3, we're working on with risk management. The second factor is whether or not countries will actually let US students enter. And then the third factor is the quarantine. So right now, most countries do have a 14-day quarantine requirement when you enter the country. So because these are short-term programs, we have to consider how that impacts a 14-day quarantine. And some of the programs aren't even 14 days. So those are the 3 factors. We obviously want to keep the health and safety of all of our students and faculty and host communities at the forefront of these decisions. So we ask for your patience and flexibility, and that's what my little flexible pencil there represents, is that we really don't know what's going to happen in the spring. So if you have a lot of concern about Spring 2021 and the travel seminars, we're happy to speak with you. But know that we don't have any firm answers right now. So as we learn more, of course, we'll update any students that have open applications. So that's all I can say about Spring 2021. I apologize, I don't have an exact answer for everyone. So do you want to talk a little bit about the on-campus course?
Yeah, sure. I want to add on to that, the sort of risk of COVID-19 that Emily talked about. In addition to that, there might be concerns about traveling to China, given the kind of heightened tension between US and China. But I think this is exactly why the travel seminar and the course on campus, are all the more important. I think this is a time for us to make a better, more nuanced understanding of Chinese society and to imagine more creatively about US-China relations in the future. And for the on-campus course, it's Soc 215, China in Transition. It's actually a 4-credit course with this research component. But we'll cover, as some of you might have learned, that China has gone through 3 decades of socialist, planned economy under Mao's kind of, era. But that has changed after 1978, when the reforms happened and China opened up to the outside world. So a lot of the on-campus course will be talking about changes in the social institutions and also changes affecting different groups of people as a result of such a reform. So things, for example, like social stratification in regards to gender, social classes, in regards to ethnic relations. But we'll also be talking about how social networks and private entrepreneurs work in this kind of transition from a socialist planned economy to a market economy. And we also explore sustainability, environmental issues in relation or related to sort of economic development, but also think about sort of the political system in China and the unique kind of economic structure in China as well, what's known as the mixed ownership, right? So you have state ownership, you have private ownership, and sometimes they are all mixed up, and that can have an impact on people's lives and on how private business do their business in China, basically, right? So we end the semester with a discussion about China in a global kind of capitalist system, right, in a global order, basically, and a little bit of U.S.-China relations. So that's for the on-campus part of the course. For the travel seminar, should I continue? Yeah, okay. Yeah, for the travel seminar, basically, I think globally, every society uses specific structures and policies to stratify people into different groups within the social hierarchy, right? But they are always through ways of immigration, through exchanges of ideas, through flows of goods and products, etc. There are always people pushing those boundaries. And same thing is happening within China as well. So the travel seminar basically is about boundaries, movement, and change within China as a result of this, market reform. We'll specifically be exploring things, for example, like migrant workers. You probably have heard of, or read about migrant workers in China that basically have migrated from rural villages to bigger cities for job opportunities. And they oftentimes, work in factories or work in low-end service sectors such as restaurants, health salons, gas stations, et cetera, et cetera. But through migration, that has, of course, had tremendous impact on their lives, but it also has created conflicts between, migrant workers and local residents, right? So a large portion of the travel seminar will be sort of figuring out how people from different groups cope with the economic, political, and social changes that are taking place in China, and how they navigate the old and the new, and the global and the local. And I want to point out a couple of things that I personally feel very excited about. I think that's the highlights of the travel. One, of course, is that you get to take the high-speed train, which is a large part of the infrastructure in China. And also will be visiting a migrant elementary school, basically a school that's built for migrant workers' kids, right, children. So you can volunteer teaching there, and you'll be visiting NGOs as well, and also a multinational corporation. So you can see how different institutions operate basically in China. And Shanghai specifically is a very interesting spot to explore because it's a mega city. It's like New York City. It's also global in many aspects. So probably in some sense it's atypical, but you can also see sort of conflicts and also interactions between different groups of people with the expat population, with a lot of global multinational corporations setting up headquarters or branches there, also with domestic companies and a lot of migrant workers. Of course, their destination is Shanghai, given the kind of huge economic opportunities there. And then the fast speed kind of urban renewal that's taking place, or gentrification that's taking place in Shanghai, and all those things are tied up also with the colonial kind of legacy in Shanghai and other aspects that happened historically speaking. So a lot of those activities would happen there in Shanghai, with an excursion to Nanjing, which was the capital city under the national nationalist party's regime. So before the Chinese Communist Party took over China, Nanjing was the capital city. So there was also a lot of kind of historical things going on there. And of course, so in addition to high-speed train, to the migrant children's school, we'll be also visiting a managed market in Shanghai. This is very interesting because you'll be able to see parents basically holding personal ads of their sons and daughters and trying to sell and trying to find sort of a matching partner for their adult children. Yeah, it's like a job market, but it's a marriage market. And we'll also be visiting different shopping places that target different social classes, from the knockoff markets to the more high-end kind of shopping malls. And of course, the bar area as well, that is very interesting. One of the most well-known bar areas in Shanghai actually is right opposite from where the Communist Party had its founding meeting. So that, I think, in itself is very interesting and ironic in a lot of ways, but we'll be exploring all those different cultural and historical sites in order to get a first-hand experience of how personal biographies are tied with those larger structural changes. And in terms of expectations, so basically there will be some readings before you depart for China. And those are very manageable, but on site, mostly you'll be keeping a daily journal, and then there will be a final reflection paper. And so we'll be having some, discussions every day to reflect on, what we've seen or learned on that particular day. So that's the expectation. Yeah.
Yeah, great. And I just want to also add that travel seminars take on a very different shape and form than on-campus courses. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be spending basically the entire time that you're there in course, but traveling around, visiting different sites. So it's not going to be lecture-based. There will be some guest lectures that will come in, and then we're partnering with CET academic programs. So they're a large program provider, and they have a center in Shanghai. So they have arranged to do kind of like a language 101 course, a very short course with students, just to get you to be able to say please and thank you, and kind of just very basic things to get you by, maybe ordering a cup of coffee or something else while you're there. So these programs are pretty action-packed, so you should be ready to dive in and be busy for the entire time that you're there. And I will also say that all these travel excursions and activities that we have planned in the current itinerary are tentative and subject to change based on local regulations, whether they're allowing groups of people to come into museums, travel, and things like that. So just be aware of those as well. In terms of accommodations and meals, so students will be likely staying at a hotel in Shanghai arranged by CET. Here's my favorite are the Shanghai dumplings, soup dumplings. So
and other things.
It's like one of the only places I've ever found them. Very hard to find them outside of Shanghai. So students will have, there's some group meals, a few group meals, and then students will be on your own for most of your other meals, but you will receive a meal stipend to take care of that. I would say you might agree with me that food is pretty inexpensive there. You can eat fairly cheaply and eat a lot. So you shouldn't have any, you should have plenty of money in your stipend for all of your meals that aren't included. In terms of your flights, so we've arranged we will arrange a group flight from New York City to Shanghai, likely one way, nonstop, but there might be a layover, which just depends on what's available when we're booking. And that is included in your program fee. In terms of the program fee, right now it's at $5,000, and that covers your flight, some of the group meals, including a meal stipend, accommodation, all of your activities, and insurance for the time you're abroad. Financial aid can cover up to 50% of the program fee, depending on what your financial aid package is at Skidmore. And just a note, and I put this picture there, if you do not have a passport already, you will need to apply for that as soon as possible. Passport processing is very delayed. And you will need a visa to enter China, which we will help you. That, I should say, that's also included in the program fee. But you will need a valid passport that's valid at least until the end of 2021 in order for us to apply for your visa. And then in terms of the application process, everything is done on our website. So it's skidmore.edu/OCSE. And it's an online application. To be eligible to go on any of our travel seminars, you have to be in good academics and social standing with the college, meet the prerequisite, which in this case is taking the on-campus course in the spring, and have a 2.75 GPA. The application is fairly straightforward. We have a variety of different signature documents, which are our policies and procedures that you need to read and sign off on. We do a social and academic integrity check. There's a personal statement about why you want to participate in this specific travel seminar. And then we ask you to upload your unofficial transcript, some passport information, and emergency contact information. We do require 2 letters of recommendation for all of our travel seminars, and those are done in our system. It's a very short recommendation, so professors don't need to write a full letter. And those are requested through our application system. And then there's a $250 deposit that's due. This can be paid through the bursar's office or by check or money order. In our office, we have a slot for those. And this is non-refundable unless we end up canceling, or you cancel before you actually commit to the program, which will be around November 1st, right before the deadline is October 15th, and you'll know by November 1st whether we're able to run the program and if and before you have to register for spring classes. So that's a really important thing to note. And then that $250 is put towards your program fee balance that the bursar will charge you for the spring semester. So at this time, we would be happy to take any questions, but you can also email us questions or book an appointment to speak with me, and I'm happy to talk through any, especially the application process. So any last words, Xiaoshuo?
If you have any questions about the course or the travel seminar, feel free to email me. It's xhou@skidmore.edu.
Perfect.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, everyone.